Welcome to Pay Attention, a podcast guiding you from the chaos of the mind to the clarity of the heart. Here's your host, Holly McNeill.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Pay Attention. I am in the Central Coast in Cambria with my two boys and their significant others. Brings tears to my eyes to be spending an early Christmas with them here. And if you want to know why, head back to my Thanksgiving episode and you'll know exactly why I'm so grateful to be here. And I'm also grateful to be here as the year comes to an end. I have my last guest in season 1 of Pay Attention, and I'm so honored to feel her energy, to work with her once again, Dr. Lenka Schulze. Thank you for being here for my last guest in my first season of Pay Attention. How are you?
Oh, thank you, Holly, for having me. What an honor. I kind of like the ending to be the end of the year.
Yeah.
So just to connect.
Reflect in and just, we were talking beforehand how I do the main body of this recorded because it's just more comfortable and it feels more relaxed. But I like to come on live with my guests, welcome them, let you know that we are here in the background to answer questions if you have any comments. And today we're just going to open our hearts and, enjoy. So should we just watch and see what happens?
Sure.
All right. Everyone enjoy this wonderful heart-opening episode all about trusting your intuition, going inward here at the end of 2025. Shh. Can you hear it? That vast realm of intelligence beyond thought. Hello and welcome to another episode of Pay Attention. Today, I'm really feeling the energy and feeling, I don't know if chill is the right word, because some of the people I talk to are really into neuroscience and really into cognitive habits, learning, unraveling. And then there's the spiritual side of people, the knowing, the understanding. And today I've got a wonderful, beautiful guest who tells me that she feels more at comfort with soul than a lot of people do. And so to get her perspective today of this kind of knowing and intuition we all have, I'm really, really happy and grateful to share that with you. Welcome, Dr. Lenka Schulze. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Holly, for the great introduction. And I agree that the world of the thoughts and the emotions and spirituality is just so vast, and we don't really get tired of talking about it.
I hate to say it, but I just love when there's someone on and I know that you know, right? And so I know you have so much to share with our guests. So please just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, your history, and we'll go from there.
That's the least favorite thing to do, honestly, talking about myself. Okay. So the journey of mine is also very unorthodox because, I love talking about the belief systems of different religions or peoples and nations. And I have grown up in communism. We had zero belief system, right? So it's kind of like reawakened me later on to the idea is that everything is just a belief system. So when I was growing up, if you have been considered religious, going to church, you were labeled like crazy. And often you would end up in mental institutions. And then rest of the children or neighbors kind of like point fingers at you and your whole family. So can you imagine how I felt when I came to America, and majority of people have some kind of a belief system.
Yeah. Tell me where you're from originally.
I'm from Czech Republic.
Czech Republic.
It was
Okay.
Czechoslovakia. So I grew up in the time of communism and then the transition. And so I also had experience, which I wrote about in my book. how I always been hungry to know more about that world.
Mhm.
And I remember, the Jehovah Witnesses knocking on my door, and
Yeah.
people usually would close the door, and I'm opening it up. Come on in, tell me all about it. So, actually, I think they were so sick of me, they actually never came back after the third visit because I had way too many questions for them.
Yeah, and what an amazing journey, because most people, are, I don't know, people have their own belief systems and that's it, and theirs is right, and but to just be so open to kind of what's out there would have been
Yes,
quite
and
a
that's
journey.
exactly yeah, and that's exactly how later on I saw myself. I'm like, oh, so it was actually a blessing because I was an empty vessel. I literally had nothing, no BS, no whatsoever. And
Wow.
people came to me early on in America, like, well, the seven deadly sins and all that, and I'm like, I don't resonate with that because I'm a good person.
Uh-huh.
And so of my family and neighbors and all the people who lived in that realm. Just because you don't have something that somebody says that's their truth, it doesn't mean that you need to be labeled in the negative. And the other way around, I believe on the soul level, we are good.
Yeah, oh, of course, yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
How old were you when you came to the United States?
I was in my teens.
Teens, right? Very formative years still. Well, not the basic formative years when you're a kid, but you're still developing, and wow.
I came with two books actually. I came with a little bag and all that, but I came with two books. One of them was astrology and the other one was the mysteries of the world. I still have them.
Wow.
And and then I kind of put them on a side because the life took over, and I really got grounded in the nitty gritty
Mm-hmm.
relationships, motherhood, that whole thing. And so but soul will bring you back, and you know that just
It
like I.
does. Yeah. Yeah. I was just looking on my notes that I have about you. You talked about honoring the mind and honoring that whole process and going, getting your PhD and really, spending time in that world. But you're right. I think for everyone, I think we're souls on this human journey, and everything's pointing us back to that open vessel that apparently you came across as. And so I love that, because in my classes I teach about, and Eckhart Tolle, and Adyashanti, and a lot of people talk about the intelligence and the wisdom in the silence.
Mhm.
Our sixth sense, and as you call it, Intuology. But we're not taught about that, certainly in schools. And there's so much power there. Life flows from there. The present moment is from that silence. But to have someone who's kind of come from the other way around, and that's all, like, to know all of that, right? You have so much to teach people. I love it.
Yeah, I call it the first sense, not the sixth sense.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
and that's
Oh, you
something
did. Yeah. The first and most powerful sense. Yes.
I believe it's the original sense. It's the
Okay.
sense that came with you and it will leave with you, right?
Yes.
Will
Yeah.
never leave you during the time of your existence on earth. It just
Yes.
won't.
But it's only your
So
conditioning that covers it up, right? That just
that's
you don't lose it. You never lose it. It just
mm,
gets covered up.
yes, yes. And it just becomes there's a different levels, of course, like the instinctual intuition, the instinctual first sense. It's so ingrained deep into our brain that will save your life, kind of thing, right? That is something that people really relate to. They also relate to that intuitive sense of the gut feeling, right? So a lot of people say, okay, that's my intuition. No, that is just the one way you receive some kind of intuitive guidance. And it's still very self-preserving if you think about it.
Ego preserving, self preserving. When you talk about,
Self-preserving, which means like it's serving you, which
yeah,
means get out of the meeting, don't do the business deal, not a safe environment, get off the bus, kind of thing.
yeah, okay,
Which, it just gives you still. It's for you. It's for
right,
you. But when you go into the kind of reality that touches the neighbor, the family member, the country, the universe, that's kind of when you start seeing the intuitive sense and the level of it's good for all. It's not just for me. It's like you're dealing with choices that serves everyone, not just you. You see, it's not about just you getting off the bus. It's like screaming to everybody, get out, and you forcing them out. It's just you now are in a different level of consciousness. And then the intuitive sense, the first sense, is very much linked to the soul, and the soul's joy is to expand. It doesn't want to stay still and stagnant. It doesn't want to stay in a kindergarten level. It wants to expand, and that's what.
Yeah. And long ago, in one of John Kabat-Zinn's, when I was listening to, talked about Robert Bly's poem, "The Long Bag We Drag Behind Us." And we stuff all these parts of us in that bag, and we live from those habits and patterns, and it's small and it's constricted, and we think that's who we are. And we just completely lose sense of the expansiveness of who we are. And it's only in unloading that bag and taking a look at it and letting it and creating this space around it that you can start to see that flow of understanding and wholeness. So
Yes.
Where do you think this, so you call it Intuology?
Intuology is a area where you learn intuition, teach intuition, study intuition. It's kind of like psychology or neurology.
Yeah. I love that. And that's a term you came up with, but should really be a class that we all have in middle school or high school, right?
I would like to see it as a mainstream curriculum, and all the way starting from kindergarten.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Even at the very formative years, understanding that we have this vast, realm of intelligence, and you can sense it when you are quiet. It's always that, I had a feeling, I had this thought come to me, I had this epiphany. That is that wisdom coming through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. And then when we have the first sense, and then the parents are very wise enough to realize that, they would harness that and make sure we never lose it. You see, it's not about reconnecting with intuitive sense. It's about never losing it. And that is my goal, is to really grab those young people who are thinking about having children or having a young children, and just telling them is that if you can give them one gift, it's that.
Yeah.
Don't word, for example, things. Let them figure it out. Let them touch it, smell it, feel it. Let them, get the senses going, versus putting them in a kindergarten already and teaching them that logical aspect of existence. Yeah. Keeping them away from the logic as long as possible, really, because they will create their own, you see.
Right. Yeah. It's really that conditioning, trying to keep away from that conditioning that road we all go down from day one, right? I need eat, hunger, what's this book, and then it's always push, success. And then there's always not always, but some kind of trauma. And then you're not good enough, and all of these stories, and they just bind you up. So yeah. And what would a world look like? They talk about ancient worlds where the minds were more open. And, if children, and I can have the same goal as you, is to get this mindfulness, this understanding of how your mind works into elementary school, into middle school. And what would the world look like? Just all of that anger and all of that, jealousy and needing things to be different than what they are is all coming from that conditioning.
I find that, I have been working in a kindergarten when my children were little. I loved working with the little guys. And I have to tell you that a lot of adults are scared of children.
Really?
Because they're truth speakers.
Uh-huh.
When you are trying, I'm going to give you a kind of funny example, but when you have a pimple on your nose and you're trying to cover it up, and nobody sees it, it will be that little Johnny goes, Miss Holly, what is that thing on your nose? Okay, so that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
They know things about you, and they can take it out of you. Like, they will pull it out of you. So as long as we keep them busy or keep them quiet, they will not be able to rock our world, right? Because we're trying to be the teachers and then the authoritative figures.
And trying to show, project an outside world that that we think people want from us. And yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I found fun with kids. You see, they go right straight to the things that you hiding. They pull it right out.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard, and I've said, when we're born, we're 360. We're wide open. The moment we're born, we're wide open, but also we're extremely vulnerable and can't take care of ourselves. That's the human journey, right? To try to stay open while experiencing all that you experience in this world. So
Yeah, I see it like swimming, in a pool where, the edges of the pool is kind of like your secure place. And then you just kind of like push yourself into the pool and trying to swim. And when it gets uncomfortable, you go back. And I think if we can find that edges of the pool as a sanctuary and constantly going back and refuel for safety, then we can actually go much deeper in life versus just skimming the superficial level.
That's right. Going deeper, and that's where, the spiritual journey, that's what it's about. It's constantly deeper and deeper and deeper. So where would you say that this intuition, this first sense, is coming from? Right? It's not coming from the head. It's not coming from the habits. And in your words, where would you tell someone that's coming from?
It's I would say something that I don't have any proof of it, right? So this is just a theory, if you want to call it a theory. But I would say the intuition is not something, first sense is not something that it's bound to some physical thing. It is vast, it's unlimited, it is infinite, and it's the source, it's the God, it's the creator, it's the universal soul, universal mind. So it doesn't have a box you can put it in. And that's what makes people very uncomfortable.
Yeah, you can't say, well, see here, right? No, exactly. But the more you can connect with that, the more, and everything's a habit and a pattern. That's true in this experience. So the more time you spend in that silence and nurturing that intuition, the closer you are to whatever you believe is your higher power, God, life. You're living from that higher sense, from that higher place of evolving, from spirit, and it's a lighter world, right? You're less attached. You're less attached to all the things that you can see and prove and that people see you need or want.
Yeah.
And life is lighter. I found it much lighter.
Yeah. And I also found, like, when listening to your story, which I found like remarkable, that your story had to be so horrendous for you to get into the soul level. Like it had to bring you down so deep on your knees that you were finally able to do it. Like the things that you put the low, like you put the, what's the word I'm trying to say? The value, you put the value onto something that could be taken away.
Oh yeah.
But intuition in your soul, nobody can take it away from you. So I think that, if I can just humbly say that, that's what I see happen to you in your journey, is that something that you place such a high value on was proven to you that could be taken away. That value is here.
Yes. Well, thank you, Lenka, for we met before. I meet all my guests beforehand and tell them a little bit about myself. So and it's true that a lot of people, and myself included, have to, we try. I mean, I had created the perfect world, everything you're supposed to want: kids, house, beautiful husband. I built my house, and even down to our pets. We had great pets, and I had nothing inside, and I was so low. Yeah. And it took me 20 years to crawl out of it, to crawl out of that conditioning. So like you said, if we can teach people without having to hit that rock bottom, which they're now recognizing as a quarter life crisis, the how did I get here? What happened to my life? Right? If you can learn at a young age who you truly are at the core, that true nature of who you are, that wisdom, and how you can use it, how you can be a tool to create the life and love around you, then you don't have to hit that rock bottom. But that's, at least in this moment, right? We can both make intentions to, Buddhists say that they first want to awaken, enlighten, and then liberate all living beings from suffering. So, that's usually my New Year's resolution. But Go ahead.
So when I would look at your life, what I would see is this. Because of your creative abilities, and creation is equals love, okay?
Okay.
Creation is love, love is creation. So how do I know that? Because when I look out the window and I see the trees and palm trees and the butterflies and so on and so forth, that is a creation. That is the love vibration that creates, right? So when I see a human being like you who was unstoppable creator, was able to create for the outside world, but not within. And I think that's what I kind of concur with you, that we were taught to create for the outside world, but not from within. So the love has came out of you, but it was like caving inside of you.
It wasn't. Yeah, inside was. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't because I wasn't full on the inside. It was painful. I woke up every day anxious and feeling unworthy and not lovable, even though I was building hospitals nationally and internationally. And
Can I ask you a question? This is just, I'm just curious.
sure.
When you are such a creator and you made it really to the top level, how many really truly heart-based compliments you had? Something that hit your heart and you took it home and you bathed in that. How many?
I remember one or
One.
two. Yeah.
Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what I found, that the creative beings, and you can look at even a history, if it's a Da Vinci or if it's a Mozart or Michelangelo. I'm wondering how many really true heartfelt feelings they got back, like how much love they got back, because it is reciprocity, like you have to go back and forth. But if you give and you get emptiness back, just keep seeking for more of that you got two out of your how many years of career. So those two, and you were chasing that to just for somebody to recognize, I have created this because that channel, I'm a channel for creation. Do you guys see? That's not me, Holly, doing it. It's that source that pouring through. And you got two. I'm wondering how many Mozart and all these.
I think so. They're much more famous after they die, right? They're the most tortured lives, right?
Bingo.
And I didn't know where the creation was coming from. And it took me, and of course it's coming from Holly, and Holly has to be this, and Holly has to be that. And what did I say to make up, and all of that just kept me in that misery. Yes. But when you can unravel it, when you can let go of it, you start to get that wisdom, right? And you start to create from that wisdom. Yeah. And it's just, I still have my struggles, but I've learned how to transmute that when it comes in, to send it out as love and light, instead of getting it blocked in your body, which causes you so much pain and struggle. That it's such a beautiful, my journey has gone from waking up every day with stomach pain and anxious and unlovable and unworthy to opening. I'm still on it, but it's such a journey well worth it. Having been at the bottom, rock bottom, and having crawled my way out, it's such a journey well worth taking, to know who you are, to know that first most powerful sense. And we, what about, and then your mind will tell you, well, what happens if this? Well, you can't let go of that. It's like that trusting that. In fact, I just had another episode, the one with Rita Ernst, who's all about business and leadership, but she said it's all about that trust. Yeah.
Yes. So I would say that trust is, when I wrote about intuition, trust is literally at the top level. Yeah. You have to trust in yourself, because when you trust in yourself, you trust in that source.
Right. But this part of yourself doesn't know that trust. It's not from here. That trust comes from here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the name of your book? What's the name of your book?
It's called The Intuition. It's really easily found on my website, lenka.org. But yeah, I would say trust is something that many people don't talk about. And how do you trust? Who do you trust? What do you trust? How do you know to trust it?
But those questions are all coming from here. You don't have to know the answers. You just have to know. When I hit rock bottom, I just believed there was better. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know what it was. I just believed.
We
Right?
trusted it. Yes, we trusted that GPS will get you there
And
somehow.
everything shows when that flow, everything starts to show up, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sense of who you are, that attraction of what you need to find that inside glow. For me, it was very incremental and slow going, which is why I'm here, right? And it's why, why you're here, to say you don't have to suffer for years, right?
Yes, but just like the other artists, they really physically died. You didn't die physically, you died on the other levels. So I think that is it's even Jesus says, in order for you to walk into the door of my Father, you have to come as a child, which means you have to die. You
Death
have
of
to
the ego,
yes, you have
death
that.
of Polly, and all I thought I was, and all I was supposed to be, and all I needed to do, right? I just need to be, and to experience, and to allow, and to let, not need anything to be differently than what it is, and life flows, and it's a beautiful thing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
So if somebody's listening to this, Lenka, and they're just all of a sudden realizing that they might be caught up in all of this, what is a tip or something that you could, like right now, what is something they can do? Like if they're like, I want that, or I want to start that, or I want to know myself, we'll get into more into kind of where they can get a hold of you. And you've already mentioned it in a little bit, but if somebody just wants, what's that one thing that they can start to do to start to
I would start with inventory. So literally sit wherever you sit in, if it's a couch or a kitchen chair, and just see exactly what's around you, who's around you, what are you reading, what are you watching, where are you going, what do you just spending time on, and if it's any social media, literally write it down. Like, what is the most interesting ones to you at this time? And make an inventory. And once you look in the inventory and you put yourself in the middle, that's who you are. That's who you are. So you start right there. And when you see that, let's just say that the movies you watch, it's drama or some thrillers. Well, what kind of drama do you live in your life, right? If you have friends who constantly are asking you for help or have drama in their life and you constantly dragged into it, like, you have to be aware of that. If your family is also very chaotic and you are sucked into that, acknowledge that. So once you know that base, then you can see, okay, well, I don't want this and that. Take something out of it. If you take everything out, it would be much harder. You would have very strong will to
yes, your
completely.
mind tries to keep everything the same.
Yeah. But if you do a couple different changes, maybe wake up earlier, take a shower or go for a walk, start watching different shows, just something shift in your environment. So because we have an aura, right? And that aura, if there are people who can read auras, right? So they can exactly know what you're about. And when you start changing that aura, you are changing the programs in it. So if it's just even your clothes, like you want to change your whole wardrobe, go ahead, because once you changing something within you, around you, your energy changes, the colors, the patterns, the art around your house. Go around and see what is hanging on your walls and why do you like that, and why did you buy it? There's some story connected to you somehow. And so sometimes you're going to be completely like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that symbolism of this and that. That's so cool. Because your soul will show you. There will be something potentially so shocking. You didn't even knew that about you.
Yeah.
See?
I love that. I love that idea, because the outside world is really a reflection of your inside world.
Yes.
And so if you change just a little bit on the outside for something that you love or something that brings you joy, you will feel that. Like you said, your energies will change. You will feel that. And if you bite off too much at once, you're like, this doesn't work, and it'll be gone and you won't even do it. But yeah, I love that. A little bit at a time.
Yes. I think adding versus constantly stripping away, because when you go on a social media, you see everybody's like, don't take this is chemical, this is toxin, remove this, remove gluten. And we constantly removing things, but nobody's saying adding joy,
Yeah.
adding something that actually adds to your life. Do you notice it? We keep cleansing our bodies and constantly doing like this drastic changes, but we're not adding anything.
Yeah, just a little change, and just obviously the silence and listening, and the quiet when you can. I mean, that sense, that first sense, has always been there for you, or at a young age. So, for those of you who came from the opposite end, like me, it's about finding that silence. And when you change it, and you change those things that are distracting you to something that's going to bring you joy and peace, it's going to give you more space to find that silence.
Holly, I would kind of like challenge you on that,
Okay.
because what I know to be true for me at this point is that when you are creative, and like I said, creation equals love. Love is the language of the heart, and heart is the language of the soul. Okay, so it's kind of like formula, if you want to call it mathematical formula. That is
Okay.
the formula I go by. So I will repeat it again. So creation or creativity is love. Love is attached to the heart, and heart is attached to the soul.
Yes.
The soul speaks intuitive language. So guess what? You have been intuitive all along, but your intuitive insights were coming out. So whatever you were creating was your intuition in manifestation, if that makes sense. And I know it sounds like, what?
So how does that contradict what I just said? What are you
Right.
telling?
Right, because I don't believe that you were not born with active intuitive sense. I think you were very much, but you had directed it towards
Okay. All right. Okay.
into the outside world. I brought it inward. You brought it outward.
I see. I
So
see the difference. Yeah.
you see, but you
Yeah.
have now what you did is you stopped that creative process from the outside. You're like, okay, I retired. Now you taking all of this, which is like, whoa, you did a lot. All of that you taking now in, but it
Right.
was always there. If
Okay.
you wouldn't be creative, if you have a different job and you would be, like sitting in a concrete building and you pushing pages, I wouldn't have this conversation with you. But you had been architect, you have been creating. Okay, see what the difference is? Like, you
Yeah.
actually had been creating.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. That intuition, the intuition is there. It's where in one way or the other, either consciously or unconsciously, we're using that. Right.
Yes.
And
Well,
so bringing
especially
it.
in your sense, like in your life. Like, what I'm trying to say is, I wouldn't have that conversation necessarily if somebody would have a different path, because some people are very disconnected from the intuitive sense.
Okay. So you're saying I wasn't, I felt I was disconnected, but you're saying that I wasn't. I was just using it outwardly.
You were using it. It's almost like like what I'm seeing is that, like I was saying, the different levels. So you immediately went into the outward, like, okay, I want to do it for the world.
Yeah.
Versus you were not connected to the self-preserving, the self-nurturing into it.
Interesting.
You just immediately just took it out.
Interesting. Well, I am totally open to understanding that the intuitive, we're an intuitive one way or the other, but I was just sending it out and not kind of replenishing or growing
Yeah.
inside. I can see that because I was very empty inside.
But the neurons in your brain were not connecting to the body, if that makes sense, internally. So when you saw some alarm going on around you, you did not know how to do that, but you knew how to build amazing things, you see? It
Yeah.
was just a different level of brain activity during that time. Like, it was just like, yeah. And again, you would have to look at it more deeply in your...
Yeah, we could go on forever. I do try to keep I mean, we could talk forever. So I love that. Like that you said, it depends on the person's life path and kind of how they're using their intuition. And so I'm starting to get this as we close this episode, that we're all having our intuition but we're experiencing it in different ways. And to experience it on the inside is to understand that love. I haven't ever really heard creativity is love before, and I haven't made that connection before. I have to think about that and contemplate that. But if somebody wants to connect with you, to understand, how do they, you gave your website before, what's link?
Yeah, it's very easy. It's lenka.org, lenka.org.
That is
Everything's
very
there.
easy. That easy.
Mhm.
So do you give classes? Can people, you do one-on-one with people, or?
Um, well, I starting a new classes. I'm working on them right now. I
Okay.
have some podcasts coming out, and there's a plenty of interesting things on my website. And we will be looking at also doing some mentoring in the future. I just kind of took a time off to write
Pause.
my books and things like that. Yeah, so going
Great,
back.
great. Well, I'm happy to be here at the beginning or the blossoming of whatever beauty and love and joy that you're bringing out. And thank you for this conversation. It's certainly, I'm always learning, so I'm going to go back and listen and really take in what you said, and probably need to have you back because there's so much that we could talk about. But thank you so much, Dr. Lenka Schulze, for being here today.
Thank you,
Thank
Holly.
you.
Thank you so much.
And for you listeners out there, yeah, a little bit of not a new take, a greater understanding on intuition, that first sense, your greatest sense, and apparently how we're all using it. But it's about being aware of how you're using it and bringing it inside and finding that joy and love and creation. So keep going. Reach out to Lenka if you want to hear more. And thank you so much for listening. And I'll see you on our next episode of Pay Attention. Wow, Lenka, it's so much fun to go back and listen to those episodes. So much good information there. And, it is really what it's all about. All of my teachings is unraveling that so you can find that sense. But that whole idea of creativity and intuition being love, and that we all have it. But you did mention a lot of people some people can be disconnected from that intuition. What does that look like when someone is just completely disconnected with that intuition?
I call them the walking dead.
Okay.
And also those are the people who put trust into authority. So it's that they are the ones who will not listen to just their intuition or their dear friend who is really meaning well. They only trust the sources who would have some kind of a label. Doctors, scientists, if it's not scientifically proven, they have nothing to do with that. And so to me, those people are very disconnected because we lose our common sense. And I believe common sense is kind of the intuition. And so when we are putting in 100%, we invest in 100% into the third party who usually have some kind of agenda, just follow the money. Science is nothing more than art of naming, right? We do not need to spend millions of dollars to figure out that mother's love is actually so beneficial and healing. But you see what I mean? It's like we get so disconnected from common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why do we need to know that? Is any of these scientific evidence will make your life better?
Yeah.
No.
I have met some of those people, and those are the people that are never going to hear you. They're never going to. You can speak to them, but they can't hear you, which is unfortunate because this is such an amazing human journey. And talking about the science, this has been such an interesting year for me because I've looked at academia and how it's black and white and it has to be proven, and decided that what I'm trying to do is to bridge science in these contemplative practices, because the truth is the truth, that open-hearted awareness, that intuition that lies behind and below, and despite of all those lenses of habits and patterns that you tend to live through, that is the journey to that calm and peace and love. So
Yeah, and before we started, I don't know why this was sitting in front of me, but I will read it. It is through science that we prove, but through intuition we discover. And this was said by Henry Poincare. So I cannot take credit for this, but it's true. It's like the science proving something that was already there. Like, why don't you need to prove everything? to take it seriously.
Yeah, to trust it. Like you said during the recording, we haven't been taught when we're young how to trust that sense, that voice. And it's not even necessarily, in the quiet. It's that conversation you hear as somebody walks by, the song that comes on the radio that gives you that message exactly when you need it. And science is catching up, but learning to trust that has been so joyful for me because it is so freeing, and there, that flow has got your best interest in mind. It is love. It is trying to bring you back to that place of clarity. So amazing. Your work is amazing.
Thank you, Holly. That's so kind of you.
Such a perfect way. I mean, I still have a couple more episodes just solo, but to have my last guest for the year as so, people, as you wrap up this year, if it has been hectic for you, if it's been struggle, there's always your intuition, right? Well, thank you, Lenka, for coming. This has been very beautiful and heart-opening. And I hope everyone who's listening enjoyed it. Reach out at lenka.org. I love that. And short websites are rare these days, so there you go. Enjoy your holiday season. I will see everyone on Christmas Eve in a week. Dr. Lenka Schulze, again, thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
Yes, and everyone, I'll see you next time. Thank you. Keep your heart open. Yeah, listen to what comes through, and I'll see you next time right here on Pay Attention.
Thanks for watching Pay Attention with Holly McNeill. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week on Wednesday at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern.